Okay, now we're at chapter 5, how brand communication works. It all begins with communication. So it's at its most basic, brand communication is a message to a consumer about a brand. It tries to get your attention and give you information as well as entertain you. It's purposeful in that it seeks to create some kind of response from you, okay? Whether it's an inquiry, a sale, a visit to a website, a test drive. That is brand communication. In some way, I'm getting your attention, giving you information, or providing you with some kind of attention. This model is called the SMCR model. Consider the source, the message, the channel of communication, and the receiver. Feedback is obtained by monitoring the response of the receiver to the message. So let me break this down a little bit for you and have you take a look at it. So the basic mass communication model is this. You have a source, the advertiser, you have the encoded message, the agency, you have the channel, which is the media that you decide to put it in. It could be a newspaper, radio, Instagram, YouTube. The decoded message is how it's interpreted, and who receives it at the end but our target audience. And in between, there's feedback and there's noise, okay? And that changes. This was what it used to look like. Let's see what it looks like today. Okay, so again, you start with the source here. This is for the brand communication model. Then the source is the advertiser again with certain objectives. The message is from the agency because they created the message. The media mix are the channels, and the receiver is the consumer reception and response. That how do they perceive it or understand it, connect with it, believe in it, act on it. But there's all this noise in there. The noise can be public opinion, competition, perceived needs. So there's external noise and internal noise. Internal noise is, perceived needs, attitudes about the product or information processing, whereas the external could be the competition, actual noise, public opinion, and then there's still feedback going on. All right, feedback is very important because if we don't get feedback, we don't know if the right message was received. Mass communication was always one way until recently. Now we have interactive communication that's two-way. So it's like a dialogue between two people. The source and the receiver changes positions as the message bounces back and forth between, okay? So here's an example of what that looks like. The source, the encoder, the channel, decoded message to the receiver, but then it comes all the way back. Because how would we know if the message was received correctly? We would know this because we would get impressions, we would get likes, our sales would go up, our donations would go up in terms of nonprofit, we may have more views on Facebook, more coupons were redeemed. People are talking about it. News agencies are talking about it. It's gone viral. This is how we know our message was received. Now, what we hope is that the right message is received. Okay? If the right message wasn't received, we need to put the brakes on, tweak it, and address it. This happens. The move toward interactivity is also called buzz marketing. It's still that two-way communication. It's getting people excited. Here is an example of a YouTube video about Coke on a college campus. So take a look at that, and that'll give you an example of how Coke decided to get into some buzz marketing and excitement on a college campus. But again, there's this move towards interactivity. But in order for us to move that direction, it also means that the advertiser or the manufacturer needs to listen, um, as well as send messages to the customer. Because and I have an example here of Lego here, because as I said, if we're not listening, we're going to have unhappy customers. An example here with Lego on Twitter is that I guess there was a missing piece. Twitter got right back to them, or Lego got right back to them on Twitter, and here we go. They've rectified the situation. So this kind of constant contact and communication is so important. If something sits and stews and doesn't get handled, guess what? We move on as customers and consumers. Okay, we change brands, and something negative goes viral and it's a problem. Okay, so more interactive communication is called like that brand experience, the customer brand experience, getting the customer more involved. So here's an example of Adidas and what they did to connect with their customers. And if you do connect with your customers in such a way, you will increase your trialability and brand loyalty. So take a look at this great YouTube video. So there's a lot of ways to communicate, as we know. Nonverbal communication comes in the form of a logo or a color or a slogan. In some cases, cues and signals are used in a commercial to communicate and to make us understand what they mean. And again, I really love YouTube. As you can see, there's a great video here on the hidden meanings of logos. I think you'll be surprised and say, oh my gosh, I never knew that, the next time you see this logo. So communication, again, above all, must be purposeful, and it has to have an effect on people. And the desired impact is formally stated as a set of objectives and then measurable in goals. So that's something you're going to be doing when you're creating your creative brief for Grace Notes. You're going to have objectives and strategies and tactics and be able to measure these results. And you're going to be able to say, what impact did we have? Here's an example of Nike and what kind of effect they have when they show this very interesting and purposeful ad. So there's typically two traditional approaches to describing the impact that an ad has. And again, take yourself into this as a customer, okay? Typically, marketers are trying to get our attention and pique our interest. And then once they do that, they create a desire for us. We want this product because, oh, it makes my teeth whiter. It makes me healthier. It makes me get a great buzz, whatever it is. And then we act on it. We drink it, we buy it, we use it again. And it's called, the next theory, this is AIDA, A-I-D-A, and the second theory is called Think, Feel, Do. And we think about the message, we feel something about the brand, and then we do something like try it or buy it or, call the 800 number or, whatever it is that makes us react. Click and donate. Here's a great ad by Budweiser that was only shown a couple of times, but it was right after 9/11. And it talk about a moving ad. Take a look at it. I'm not sure that you've seen it before, but it's a great moving ad for sure. So the effects behind effectiveness. So there are problems. This just always just doesn't happen as far as consumers are concerned, that they're always going to react to the product the way we want them to, and they're going to follow our formula. Because there's definitely people that just by habit or impulse buy particular products. Like a great example is my husband will, if we go to a restaurant, he'll just get a Diet Coke. It's just like a habit. And I always say, why don't you just get a Coke or just get water? It's just and he says, oh, it's just a habit. Or impulse, we're at the grocery store or we're at the checkout. Our impulse is like pick something up quick. We don't really think about it. maybe a pack of gum, candy bar, whatever it might be. But the big challenge is always cutting through the clutter. And if any of you have been to Times Square, it's quite the madhouse. Living in outside of Philadelphia, I did have many opportunities to go to New York and bring my kids here at Christmas to see the tree. And I mean, just walking through this is, and then of course when it rains, it's lovely. There's umbrellas everywhere. You can't see where you're going. But it is pretty amazing, and from a marketer's point of view, it's fabulous. You know, it's alive and it's happening right before your eyes. Okay, so the facets model of effects. So think of this: true or false? Are consumers loyal to brands that say something about them as human beings? I'm going to say it again. Are consumers loyal to brands that say something about them as human beings? True or false? I think it's true. Many of you talked about that cool factor in our very first field exercise. It could be something, you know, that says something about our style, about, you know, where we like to spend our money. It could be an off-brand, store brand. It could be a Lacoste shirt. It could be a pair of Adidas sneakers. It could be a cool pair of sunglasses. It could be anything that we think reflects us. So here is a model called the Facets Model of Effects, and it sets objectives and evaluations for how effective an advertisement is. We're going to go through this on the last parts of these slides. So effective advertising creates 6 types of consumer responses. Again, we're putting a name with the concept. First, it's awareness, the perception facet. Then we feel something, that's affective or emotional. Think and understand is the cognitive part of it. Connect with the brand, that's the association. Believe is the persuasive part of the facet. And then finally, number 6 is our behavior, which is the act and the do. So we're going to go through these a little bit. So perception is the process by which we receive information through our senses, and we assign meaning to it. For an advertisement to be effective, it has to be noticed or register at some minimal level on our senses. And it could be something we smell. It could be something, you know, because we're hungry. It could pull on our heartstrings, and it could make us happy. It could make us sad. Awareness results when a brand message makes an impression, when something actually registers with us. So factors that drive perception, well, there's selective perception that we pay attention to. Selectively, we look at things. Exposure, media planners want consumers to see or hear the message. Okay, so they select certain messages and they hope that they're interesting and they engage with you. And this is called stickiness. So how does an ad engage with you? It engages because you act on it by going maybe to a website or clicking on it or some other thing that makes you connect with it. That's called stickiness. Factors that drive perception: relevance, curiosity, recognition, and recall. Is it relevant to me? Am I curious to want to know more? Do you remember seeing the ad, and could you recall the ad? Okay, so the next part of this is called the synergy requirement. And it basically means that the IMC approach, which is the integrated marketing communication, coordinates all this marketing into this kind of puzzle that all works together. And individual messages have more impact if they work jointly than if they would on their own. Then we get into the subliminal effects of messaging. This is also considered controversial. critics believe that this advertisement is unfair manipulation, and they're designed to get past our subconscious. So here's an example of a liquor or an advertising. They talked about people have been trying to find the breasts in these ice cubes since 1957, talking about subliminal advertisement, but really there's a lot of controversy around it, and people don't even believe that it's true. So this is kind of a play on that, making fun of it. So let's get into the emotional facets of these responses to advertising. So affective responses mirror our feelings about something. So it could be anger, love, fear, hate. And it describes something that stimulates wants, touches the emotion, elicits feelings. Brand messages can arouse a range of positive or negative emotions. So the example here, or the YouTube video I want you to watch, is for Subaru. I happen to love this because this is showing a daughter growing up and leaving home for college, which is basically happening to me currently. So take a look at it, and you can see how this plays on your emotions, and that's exactly what Subaru is trying to do. They do a lot of that with dogs as well. So what do they try to do? They want to drive our wants and desires. They might excite us or get us aroused in some way. And they want to address our emotional appeal and this is like the ASPCA here with the dog ads. And we've seen these ads. Some of us just turn them off because they're too darn sad. There are also the emotional facet of feeling wants you to have positive feelings about the brand, and they want you to resonate with the product as well. The cognitive facet, that's the think and understanding, that refers to how consumers search for and make sense of information. It's a rational response to a message that comes from thinking something through. So the cognitive facet, what drives us in this facet is connecting with our needs, because there's something missing. It could be I'm hungry, I don't feel safe, I want updated clothing. Cognitive learning presents facts and information. So typically, more involved, expensive type products will use this cognitive facet because they want to explain further what maybe the drug is, or what this particular car is, or a diamond, or something like a cruise, or some sort of travel. So they use a little more factual information so that we can comprehend and understand and acquire knowledge. McDonald's, they're building needs or wants here, crafted for your craving. This is an example of their Angus quarter pounder. They're connecting with our basic biological needs here of food and hunger. More on thinking and understanding. So factors that drive cognition is that we need to know, as a consumer, we need to have the ability to distinguish between competing brands and understanding what the competitive edge is. So if we're going to purchase something, why are we purchasing it? Why is it better than the other brand? So I believe in your field exercises, you were asked to think about a brand that has a clear competitive edge, an advantage. We have to be able to recall the ad in some way and notice that these two factors do work together. So if we know that we like a particular product because it's different and has a competitive edge, we're going to recall it at the time of purchase and remember it and say, oh, I'm going to buy this brand over that one because I remember it has X in it, whatever that X is. There's also associations that we communicate through advertising that make us connect with the brand. The brand linkage here, or symbolism, that makes us connect with the brand and have an association. And I gave you again in your field exercises, what do you think of when you see an ad for a brand like Nike, Viagra, or Mountain Dew? What things come to mind? What has this advertising message done to connect with you so that you know what different symbols or associations mean? An example here is that Coke puts symbolism to work in Japan. They use their panda bear, that's their symbol, but they connect it with Coke, and it's in front of the Hug Me vending machine in Japan. Another association here is conditional learning and transformation. So some of the factors that drive association, again, is that we have thoughts and feelings that we have linked to the brand through repetition of a message over and over and over again. We hear something and then we just associate it with it, whether it's true or not. I think of orange juice and drinking it in the morning. Why can't we drink it at night? We can, but we think it as something, orange juice, you drink it in the morning. That is some great messaging going on there. Transformation means we take a product or meaning and it transforms it into something special or differentiated. So I like to use Special K here, or Kellogg's, because in this video they are showing that Special K is just not cereal, okay? That it is a lifestyle, that it connects us as women, that it doesn't matter when you eat, and that you can eat whenever you want and what you want to eat. And they're showing like the chocolate flavored and the healthier side of Special K, and that we eat it for breakfast or a snack, or we eat it for dinner. So that's an example of that. Another great example is when a company tries to show you different ways to use their product. Okay, I know Hellmann's mayonnaise. I just listened to this radio ad the other day, and as you can imagine, I'm very aware of advertising and wanting to bring examples to class. But it talked about using mayonnaise, Hellmann's mayonnaise, in different things other than like chicken salad or spreading it on your sandwich. It also talked about using it in a cake mix for moistness, and some other different ways to use the product, which I thought was interesting. So that's a great way of transforming your brand. Another great example of this is the Got Milk campaign, persuading us or influencing us to do something, and changing our attitude, and convincing us that maybe we need to give this a shot. So the Got Milk campaign expressed, convinced people that, hey, this is another option. We don't just have to have milk with cookies, or little kids have milk, but look who else is drinking it. So watch this YouTube video, and the purpose of it really was to change your attitude about milk, and give alternatives to like water or sodas or other beverages, and that it's not just for kids, that it's for athletes and celebrities and models and actors and you. So take a look at that. It's a great video of how it all came together. So factors that drive persuasion: motivation, something prompts us to act, okay, such as, oh, my clothes are too tight, or I need to lose weight, or I need to eat healthier. Influences from people like opinion leaders. They could be someone like a parent, a sister, a friend, or an athlete, or someone, a blogger. And involvement, the degree to which one attends to messages and how you make product decisions. The more expensive the product, the more involved we get with it. And I think I did ask the question of what brand or company do you connect with that they get you involved, and how do they get you involved? And this is that engagement factor that where the consumers turned on, okay? There's consumers agree with the message and achieve a state of certainty or belief about a brand. That's called conviction. Hey, I use this Tide because it gets my clothes the cleanest. I'm convicted. My mother uses it. I'm going to use it. And then there's preference and intention. Consumers are motivated by this conviction, and that's how they purchase. And there's also brand loyalty. That also drives our persuasion, and that involves, you know, our attitude or connection, our satisfaction as a customer. I think of the Chick-fil-A loyalty app that gives you points and connects you with them in a positive way, whether it be, you know, get free breakfast sandwiches, or get something for your birthday, or you have a cookie, or whatever it is, or try out their new milkshake. But they do an excellent job in communicating, even down to the level of the closest Chick-fil-A near you. I know they don't take the app though on campus, which kind of stinks. So then you get into believability and credibility. Okay, is the message credible and believable? In other words, is the person delivering it someone that we can trust, and is it a good source that and is it believable? So maybe it's an athlete, or maybe it's a model, or maybe it's a mother, or maybe it's a father that's in the ad. Is it believable? Are we connecting with that? So I want you to think about how advertisers might create credibility. More on behavior here, that is how we actually respond. It can involve a number of actions, from trying a new product, to visiting a store, to returning an inquiry card, calling a toll-free number, clicking on a banner ad. You know, here I am sampling this product. Am I going to pick it up? I don't know. Sometimes when I'm in Costco, it's like, oh, I'll try it out. Keep it in the back of my mind. Maybe I pick it up the next time. Maybe I pick it up right then and there. Okay, so the next part here for the behavior facet is acting and doing. There's a mental rehearsal where advertisers attempt to create like a virtual memory, so that you can imagine yourself doing some of the things in the ad. Trial is important for new and expensive products, as I mentioned. Some things like gym memberships, or driving a car down a mountain, showing these things like this could be you. And then it leads to buying and a call to action. Okay, we're getting down here on the slides. We're almost done this chapter. Factors that drive the behavioral response: contact. Consumers respond by contacting the advertiser. Advocating and referrals. Advocacy means speaking out on the brand's behalf. Referrals occur when satisfied customer recommends a favorite brand. So that can be very informal. It's word of mouth marketing. Maybe your roommate, you know, tried HelloFresh, and now, hey, I'm going to try it. You know, that means that people are speaking positively on behalf of the brand. It could be a blogger. Prevention is negative messages about an unwanted behavior with incentives to stimulate that desired behavior. That could be in terms of like cigarette ads, things like that. So there's a lot of different facets here. It's not just about trying the product, but it's about not using the product as well. So this is our last slide, but our next chapter will be on market research, chapter 6.